And scientists had also claimed this would help cure blindness in young children by supplying them with the needed vitamin A. But this begs the question, if this genetically modified plant golden rice was so beneficial, why then was that group of protesters angry enough to remove it from the ground? In this speech, you'll discover the dangers of what's known as genetically modified organisms. I first became interested in the subject when my family and I were coming back from Disney World in Florida. At about 2 to 3 hours from home, my dad decided to put on some movie, or in reality, a documentary. I wasn't very interested, but when I watched it, I came to understand how harmful GMOs really are. Many Americans think that eating foods with GMOs don't matter, but actually, GMOs are a bigger problem than we realize. Thanks to my dad, I was inspired to write this speech. Today, I shall go over 4 aspects of GMOs. I'll first look at what exactly a GMO is. Then we'll see how GMOs are unhealthy to the environment, how GMOs are unhealthy to humans, and then finally I'll address the solution to this GMO problem. So, what is a GMO? A GMO could refer to a lot of things such as fluorescent rodents, larger salmon, self-limiting mosquitoes. I'm specifically going to address GMOs in foods from big companies that have had their genes altered to express a certain trait. In very simple terms, this means taking a certain gene like the ability to repel insects and transferring that DNA sequence so that the plant expresses an insect repellent trait as it grows. While this form of engineering has existed since the birth of agriculture, this new form is not new. In fact, it has been tested and improved for more than 40 years. According to A.M. Wazorek and M.G. Wright, GMOs were created for the sole purpose of controlling pests and diseases. Well, how often do we truly come into contact with them? GMOs can appear in corn, soy, potatoes, papayas, canola, wheat, and all other non-organic fruits or vegetables. Do you know that countries around the world mandate the labeling of food, and our country does not? According to Just Label It, quote, 64 countries around the world require or mandate the labeling of genetically modified foods, end quote. GMOs are actually unhealthy to the environment, as I'll be showing you in my next aspect. GMOs can actually spread, because by planting one GMO crop, you're endangering all the others. The GMOs spread to the ones close to it, and then those spread, and so forth. Monsanto claimed that genetically engineered crops would be good for the environment by reducing pesticide use and increasing crop yields. But the past 20 years have shown that they don't do that. Instead, they have vastly increased the use of glyphosate, which, as we'll see, is extremely dangerous. Glyphosate is the active ingredient in Monsanto's Roundup herbicide. Since the introduction of these crops in the mid-1990s, glyphosate use has spread like cancer across the U.S. Farmers now apply 16 times more of the herbicide than they did before GMOs came on the market. This is bad for insects, birds, and other wildlife. So here's how this works. GMOs affects the bugs, which is their purpose, and the consumer, or us. Raspberries were fed just one potato with GMOs in it. The organs were adversely affected after just 10 days of being fed. By this we can tell that GMOs will definitely harm us too. GMOs cause increased pesticide combination and do great economic harm to the farmers. Do you remember how I said the goal of Monsanto was to increase crop yields and reduce pesticide use, and this is the opposite? GMOs are actually unhealthy for us, as I'll be showing you in my next aspect. Relating back to my previous thought, according to Duchesquel, quote, there's a French farmer named Paul Francois who argued with Monsanto that one of its weed killers seriously damaged his health. He said that he accidentally inhaled fumes from it, which led to neurological problems. The farmer said he has suffered headaches, faintings, memory loss since he first used the products in 2007. He was hospitalized several times, and the doctor said he nearly died. GMOs lead to increased more toxic pesticide combinations, end quote. Thankfully, he ended up winning the case, but many people have lost the case. Around 200 known farmers have had lawsuits filed on them by Monsanto for touching the crops. What happens is they can either lose all their money or make their crops Monsanto's. This is unjust and unfair. David says in Psalm 24:1, "The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and those who dwell therein." So you see, this whole earth, including food and seed, belong to God. Now, recall my story at the beginning when I was watching the movie GMO OMG. I actually was thinking, wow, now I can't eat anything. So that leads me to my last point. What is the solution to this problem? Also relating back to my to what I said earlier, the reason the group of protesters was so angry enough to rip it from the ground is because this was so unjust. Did you know that when you're eating grass-fed beef, there's still GMOs because the dust spreads from the GMO crops and those spread to the grass, and the cows eat it and therefore become genetically modified themselves. And if you eat farm-raised, it's even worse because they eat the genetically modified corn and also become genetically modified. And plus, if you pick a random processed food off the shelf, it's most likely going to have GMOs. Now, you're probably just scared to death thinking, wow, now I can't eat anything. So here's the solution. A, eat organic produce. B, try to stay away from as much cereal, bread, unless it's organic. As we wrap up, here's two simple things for you to think about. When was the last time you consumed bread? If you've eaten any in your life that's not organic, you just consume, sure, good tasting bread, but more importantly, lots of GMOs. If you eat cereal or you buy some for your kids, you are also consuming lots of GMOs. See, GMOs are everywhere, and we have almost no control over this, but we can choose to put natural foods into our bodies instead of man-grown harmful food. Let's stop eating unhealthily and choose what's better for our environment and for our health.